after 7 o'clock. Tim Griffin, Congressman Tim Griffin, joining us by phone this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I did not know that y'all were having tornado-type weather down there. I hadn't talked to my wife yet this morning. It sounds like, though, it's just a watch at this point, huh?
Yeah, just kind of keep an eye on things. There's a big front moving in because it's like almost 70 degrees right now, and so that
wow.
and so that cold warm air thing is
sure
popping those thunderstorms. So so how are things on the Hill?
They're about the same. Just working every day. I be back in the district tomorrow night, but I just introduced recently a bill, a regulatory freeze bill, and we call it the Regulatory Freeze for Jobs Act. And it dates back to specifically to my jobs conference. I mean, we've been hearing from a lot of businesses and job creators, big and small, over the last year or so, that the regulatory environment, just the number of regulations, the number of things that businesses are being required to do in terms of new rules are a big problem. They create uncertainty for businesses. Like they don't know what regs are coming next, particularly regulations that implement Obamacare. There's been a lot of concern about that. And also a lot of the community banks are affected by some really burdensome regulations that are freezing up credit in the small towns in Arkansas. And so at the jobs conference, the number one complaint was we've got to stop over-regulating our job creators. And no one I hear from is against regulation. Regulation is part of keeping our air clean, our water safe, and we all get that. But it's the excessive and overly burdensome regulation that we're targeting here. And what my bill does is it says, look, the Obama administration has regulated at a cost to the economy that's about at least 40% higher than the last administration. And they're just piling on job creators, again, small businesses and big. And so what my bill does is it says we're going to freeze all new regulations that have a big economic impact. And under the law, dating back to the mid-'90s, they're called significant regulations. So if they have $100 million impact or more, which there's a lot of regulations that do in an economy this big, then that's a significant regulation. And what we're saying is we're going to freeze the Obama administration's new regulations until we get the unemployment rate down. It basically says let's have a timeout. Like when your kids are running around the house and you're trying to figure out which ones it followed over things. Just time out. Let's figure out what's going on here, and that's sort of what this is. Just freeze this regulatory process, and let's figure out why are we doing this and what are we doing. Let's give people time, businesses time to implement what you've already passed, and to take a deep breath and figure out where we're going here.
Because a lot of people,
and we've been really excited by the response. I don't know if you saw, but the Chamber of Commerce came out in favor of it yesterday, and we've got a lot of support, a lot of co-sponsors, and so we're real happy with the response.
And I think if nothing else, what this will do, like you said, the timeout aspect of it. And I know you probably heard this from business owners too, is just the uncertainty, not being able to hire somebody because you don't know what's coming down the pike, not being able to hire somebody because of this cost and so on.
Regulations that aren't implemented yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the EPA and others will just float ideas out there.
Right.
They'll say, we're looking at doing this, and we're looking at doing that, and we're looking at requiring you to do this. And what this bill says is no more of that for now. Let's just take a deep breath. Now, if the regulations are already in place and are already implemented, this bill does not deal with that. We've got other bills like that we've already passed that deal with a lot of the really burdensome rules that have been passed. But, and again, this is not anti-regulation per se.
Right.
But it's gotten out of control. There's a point where you so over-regulate, and regulation is so excessive that you basically just kill business. You kill job creators.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this question. Now, this stops the, as you said, regulations. Now, that's just the stuff that, whether it be the president, the EPA, or some committee can enact. This is not stuff that Congress is going to vote on. This is stuff that the president just does, whether it be an executive order. I mean,
these regulations are the rules that that come out of the agencies.
Right.
That implement Obamacare, for example, that implement the Dodd-Frank financial law that folks said was intended to deal with Wall Street, but has ended up crippling Main Street. The truth is, Wall Street got behind the president's reform, and Main Street, the small town banks, community banks, that give credit, that provide money to local businesses and you and me when we want a house or a car or whatever, those are the ones taking the brunt. Those type of rules that come out of EPA that says we're going to ban farm dust or regulate farm dust, dirt, rules that come out of Department of Labor for this or that. And again, if you talk to folks across the spectrum, small business owners, farmers, big business owners, job creators of all types, they will tell you that regulatory uncertainty is the number one obstacle they face. They told me that. Many of them told me that at the Clinton library when we had our jobs conference last year, and I hear it all the time. They come into my office and they say, we don't know what's going to happen next. It's going to cost X amount of money to comply, that sort of thing.
So in essence,
what we're saying is, let's have a timeout.
So in essence, this could stop Obamacare?
Well, no, but what it will do, if this were to pass, is it would stop a lot of the implementing regulations. So
right. Well, now, what do you think are the chances of this passing? Because I think that's I love the idea, and I think a lot of people are going to like the idea. What are the chances you think it has of getting through?
Well, I think it's got a really good chance of getting brought to the floor, as you know, in the House and passing the House. As you know, there are just scores of bills that are good bills in the House. But to get your bill to the floor of the House for a vote is tough because there's a lot of different bills out there vying for a very limited time. But I feel real good about the chances of getting a vote on this, and it will pass if it gets to the floor of the House. But then the question becomes, what happens in the Senate? And the Senate has a pretty bad track record, to be frank with you. We have passed dozens of job-related bills in the House, and they have gone to the Senate where they just sit and sit and sit. And that's, so that's, it'll be, and the bottom line is this: the president is not likely to sign this because it's going to limit his power.
Right.
So we will most likely get it out of the House, and then we'll have to, talk to the American people about it, try to put pressure on the Senate to do something with it.
What's your? I wanted to talk about a couple other things before we have to go. Wanted to get your take on this situation that's going on, because we were just talking about this morning with the President Hamid Karzai's response, wanting U.S. troops put on trial over this Koran burning thing. What's your take on that?
Well, it's outrageous. That's just crazy. I'm a Army JAG. We have our own justice system and in the military, and always have, and we handle those matters internally. We certainly don't want to turn them over to a country where many of the folks hate us. But everything I've learned, and I'm talking about public information now, on this recent incident was that no one was doing anything intentionally, and even if they were, the idea that they would be tried by the Afghanistan government is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's. Do you think that they will be tried here? Do you think the president will go that route?
Well, I don't think, from what I've seen, I don't think anybody's going to be tried.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's been kind of tight-lipped on the whole thing so far, which has just happened, but,
If you're talking about the burning of the Qurans, then from what I can tell, that was inadvertent.
Right.
People were just sort of, they were in with a bunch of other stuff, but
well, even the president of Afghanistan admitted that we didn't mean it was inadvertent. It was inadvertently done. He even admitted that. So.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to ask you about is your take on the.
Thing you got to know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, Karzai will speak for himself, but a lot of time, what these leaders internationally do and say is that they know that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. They're doing it because of politics.
Right.
They've got their own politics to deal with, and so a lot of the stuff you got to listen and go, okay, does he really mean that, or is he talking to his people there to make them feel
good point?
Good.
Yeah, very good point.
That because he's probably going, well, I better make a statement and demand that, or whatever. So
yeah,
I wouldn't give too much credence to that. That ain't gonna happen.
As we close things out, I wanted to ask you, after the primaries yesterday, Mitt Romney looking well in both. Well, Romney and Santorum looking good in both states. Where do you stand with that? Have you thrown your support behind anybody?
Yeah, it's been a tough one because I tell people you don't get to just pick who you want to run. You have to look at who's running, and you have to decide who's the best person. Mm-hmm. And you certainly, no one's perfect. You can find faults with anybody, but my goal is to get another president. Mm-hmm. And I endorsed Romney, Governor Romney, and certainly there's folks that support me and that disagree with me on that, and that's absolutely fine. That's what a primary's about. But my goal is one thing, and that is to get a new president. Mm-hmm. And in terms of, when I say my goal is one thing, I mean my goal in the context of this presidential race is not just to make some points, but to get a new president. Mm-hmm. And I think that Governor Romney, I think he's with his executive background and his ideas on job creation, I think he's our best bet.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you joining us, taking the time this morning, and good luck on your bill there.
Thank y'all very much, and I look forward to being in Arkansas tomorrow. Y'all, I'll keep an eye on the weather. I've got because I'm sure whatever weather is impacting y'all is probably impacting my family down in Little Rock. But hang in there, man.
All right, appreciate it, Tim.
Take care. Thank you.
You too. 722, Congressman Tim Griffin there. Thanks again for joining us this morning. And I think he's going to need the luck on the bill. Yeah, it's going to be tough to get that done, but at least he's doing it.